welcome back to Listen, I Have an Idea. My name is Heidi, and today is day 4 of NaNoWriMo 2017. So at this point in the game, we're 4 days in. We're not super far in, but we have a good foundation being built. Now at this point last year, I found that my days were going by, I was writing no problem, I hadn't hit writer's block just yet. And that's because I kind of had everything set up for myself. It wasn't until around day 10 where I kind of hit the brakes a little bit and didn't know how to complete my thoughts and to write more chapters. So today I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to hit your daily goals and essentially how to achieve writing 50,000 words in a month. Tip number 1 is to know where you stand with your word count. By this, I like to log on to my NaNoWriMo account and see exactly how many words I've written. I also like to just follow along with that little bar graph and the line graph that they have on there, knowing how many words I've written so far and how many extra words I have. I do enjoy writing a little bit more than what I'm supposed to per day. That way, in case in the future I want to have like a relaxed day or I don't want to write for a day, I have a bank of extra words that I can use to put towards that day. Also, having a calendar on your wall or on your phone or somewhere nearby with the amount of words you're supposed to write per day, it's a really great way to stay on track. I have one. I keep it on my wall over here, which you can't see. I printed out a copy of the November month. It's not the best color. My printer wasn't really working, but on there I have each day and how many words I'm approximately supposed to write, and then after I finish those words, I cross them off. As you can see, I have not written my words yet for today, so that is what I'm going to be working towards. Tip number 2 is to not obsess over your word count. I find that this is probably the hardest thing that I've encountered so far this year, and it was so difficult for me last year. Every 2 sentences, I feel the urge to check the word count. So what I've done, instead of I try really hard. Sometimes I don't do this, but what I do is I wait until I get to the end of the page or until I finish a paragraph to check my word count. And once I do that, I add it up with the words that I've written in the previous days and update my total on the NaNoWriMo website. One of the things that I do to make it easier to find out exactly what my word count is if I don't finish what I'd written the previous day at the end of the chapter, so say I'm not starting fresh the next day on a brand new chapter, what I'll do is I'll mark the last word that I wrote on the previous day in red or some other color. That way when I go to select all the words that I've written on the brand new day, I know exactly where I left off. Tip number 3 is to not edit as you go. I find that when I write, I like to write in one writing session, so a set period of time where I am just writing, and I try not to edit what I've just written, give or take a few lines. Sometimes I find that if I'm starting a new sentence and it doesn't work with the previous one, I'll kind of go back and fix that, but I never go more than 3 double-spaced lines. That way, I'm kind of staying on track and I'm moving forwards and not backwards. I will eventually go back and fix up all of my chapters, or if there's something that I really don't like with that chapter, what I do is I print out a copy of my chapters once I finish them, and I will write notes at the very end. That also helps us stay organized. Tip number 4 for hitting your daily goal is to turn off your internet. I find that I get distracted so easily, so sometimes closing all of my social media tabs and physically turning off the internet is the only way I can stay focused. Typically, I do keep the NaNoWriMo website open and update my word count every so often. Okay, and the last tip that I have for you today is to always end a writing session knowing what's going to happen next. This is a quote that I found on this really helpful website, which has 30 tips for NaNoWriMo. I will link it down below in the helpful links, but essentially always know where you're leaving off when you finish writing. You don't have to end a writing session ending a chapter. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. But what I try to do is when I finish a writing session for the day, I try to at least know what's going to be happening next, at least so I have enough in my brain to write about 500 to 800 words. That way, as I am writing, I can develop more characters, more plot lines that will fill in the rest of the words for the day. Last year, I didn't do this in the beginning, and I found that at the beginning of my writing sessions, I would sit there for about an hour not really knowing where to start or what my character should say. What I try to do now is, like I said, I finish knowing that I have a substantial amount that I know exactly what I want to write after, and throughout my day when I'm not writing, I try to think about the other 500 to 800 words that I'm going to be writing after that. So now it's time for the question and the comment of the day. So yesterday I got a comment from Peter saying that he finds that his writing works a lot better when he writes in a short time span, and he's already finding that within the past few days of his first NaNoWriMo experience. I also find that as well. I typically write between 9 o'clock and 11:30 at night. That way all day the thoughts can percolate a little bit in my mind and I know what I'm gonna write when I go to write. So my question of the day is, when do you guys write? And do you write it all in one sitting or do you do it multiple times throughout the day? Let me know in the comments down below and I might feature you guys in tomorrow's video. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I will see you tomorrow with another NaNoWriMo video. Until then, happy writing. Bye!